It was the stillness that made it unsettling. Not silence exactly, but the kind of quiet that lingers when something has been left unfinished. On the morning after Christmas, a delivery driver slowed as he passed a modest home at the edge of a residential street. The porch light was still on, glowing faintly against the pale winter sky. It had been on all night. That alone might not have meant much, but the driver noticed something else. The front door was ajar, just a few inches, as if someone had stepped outside and never come back in. When police arrived, they did not rush in. They paused, taking in the details. The porch was undisturbed, no broken decorations, no footprints in the light dusting of snow that had fallen before dawn. Inside the house, the decorations were still lit. A Christmas tree glowed softly in the living room. Wrapped gifts sat unopened beneath it. And in the kitchen, on the cold tile floor, lay a woman who had never made it to Christmas morning. At first, there was no obvious explanation, no visible injuries, no overturned furniture, no sign of forced entry. It looked almost deceptively like a medical emergency. But as investigators examined the scene more closely, a question began to form, one that would remain unanswered for years. Why would someone leave their home in the middle of Christmas night only to never return to it alive? Her name was Laura Mitchell. Laura was 37 years old and lived in a quiet town in the northeastern United States. She worked as an administrative assistant for a small insurance firm, a job she had held for nearly a decade. Her days were structured and predictable. She woke early, brewed coffee, checked emails, and followed the same routine she had refined over years. She lived alone, though not by circumstance. Friends described her as independent and private, someone who valued her space but maintained close ties with family. She spoke with her parents several times a week and visited her sister whenever work allowed. She had no children, but often talked about wanting a different future, one that felt more settled, more secure. Christmas was usually spent with family. That year, she had returned home early on Christmas Eve after a small gathering, explaining that she felt tired and wanted a quiet night. Nothing about the evening seemed unusual. The last confirmed contact with Laura was a phone call at 10:42 p.m. She spoke briefly with her sister, exchanging holiday wishes and confirming plans to meet the following day. Her tone was normal, calm. There was no sense of distress. Sometime after midnight, Laura's routine broke. Investigators would later determine that her phone showed brief activity at 12:58 a.m., a location request, no message sent, no call placed. Then nothing. Based on forensic findings, Laura likely left her home shortly after 1 a.m. The front door had been unlocked from the inside. She was fully dressed for winter, but she had not taken her purse or car keys. That detail puzzled investigators. Whatever had drawn her outside, she did not believe it would take long. She never came back in. The cause of death was determined to be homicide, though there were no visible signs of violence. A small, precise injury was found during the autopsy, one that suggested deliberate action rather than impulse. There were no defensive wounds, no signs of a struggle. Laura may not have realized she was in danger until it was too late. The investigation began, as it often does, with the people closest to her. Family members were questioned at length. They cooperated fully, providing phone records, messages, and details about Laura's recent behavior. Nothing suggested conflict or fear. Laura had not mentioned being followed or threatened. She had not expressed concern about anyone in her life. Friends echoed the same sentiment. Laura was cautious, reserved. She did not invite chaos into her life. That made the circumstances of her death even harder to understand. Police examined Laura's digital footprint carefully. Her phone revealed a pattern of late-night internet searches in the weeks leading up to her death. None were alarming on their own, but together they suggested unease. Searches related to home security, anonymous phone calls, how to block a number that keeps changing. There was also a series of deleted messages, recovered only partially. They appeared to come from an unknown contact, saved under no name. The messages were brief and ambiguous. Requests to talk, apologies, statements that implied familiarity without clarity. The final recovered fragment read simply, "I just want closure." Investigators turned their attention to Laura's neighborhood. It was a quiet area, mostly families and retirees. Very little late-night activity. Security cameras were scarce, but one camera positioned at a nearby intersection captured a figure walking down the street around 1:12 a.m. The image was indistinct. The person appeared to pause briefly near Laura's home before continuing out of frame. No identifying features could be confirmed. There were no witnesses who recalled seeing or hearing anything unusual. Christmas night had been cold. Most people were asleep. As days passed, early theories began to fall away. There was no evidence of a break-in, no indication of robbery. Laura's valuables were untouched. Her car remained parked in the driveway. The absence of motive became one of the most troubling aspects of the case. Investigators began to consider the possibility that Laura had known the person responsible, someone she trusted enough to step outside for, someone who did not need to force entry or leave evidence behind. Phone records revealed repeated short calls from blocked numbers over the previous 2 months. The calls were never answered. They always occurred late at night. Laura had never reported them. Psychologists consulted on the case noted that prolonged low-level harassment often goes unreported. Victims convince themselves it will stop, that acknowledging it will make somehow worse. There were missed opportunities, moments when intervention might have been possible if the threat had been recognized as what it was. Despite extensive efforts, no suspect was ever formally identified. The figure on the camera was never matched to anyone. The messages could not be traced. The calls originated from disposable devices. The case reached a quiet standstill. Years later, Laura's family still marks Christmas differently. The holiday no longer feels like a beginning, it feels like an ending. Her house was eventually sold, her belongings carefully sorted and stored. The porch light, once left on by habit, is now always turned off at night. The investigation remains open, though little movement has occurred. Detectives believe the answer lies in the space between familiarity and fear, in the moment Laura chose to open her door. This case continues to matter not because of how it ended, but because of what it reveals. That danger does not always arrive loudly, that harm can exist in persistence rather than force, and that silence, especially during moments meant for peace, can hide more than anyone expects. Laura Mitchell's life was more than the circumstances of her death. She was thoughtful, dependable, and quietly hopeful for a future she never reached. Remembering her means acknowledging not just what was lost, but how easily warning signs can fade into routine, and how sometimes the most disturbing cases are the ones where almost nothing appears right at all.